Okay, so hello everyone, and welcome to the Q&A portion of our discussion on the NSF I-Corps program. We're excited that you're here, and we hope that you have lots of questions for our panelists here. My name is Abby Olukeye. I am the founder of Smart Girls HQ and the CEO, and our work is focused in creating girl-focused STEM education products, content, and experiences. We do this one working through with parents at raisinSmartGirls.com, and then we create activity kits called Dear Smart Girl Kits for girls themselves. And we just recently got awarded an SBIR to build the digital complement to those kits. And that's what we're currently working on. So I have been through the entire process. I started out working with Laura and Devin at Ventureprise and doing those 30 interviews, and then doing the National I-Corps program myself and doing the 100 interviews, and then now getting an SBIR award that I'm working on. So I'm really excited to hear from our panelists today and also share some of my experiences. One of the things that you will find available to you when you start this process, whether you're starting at the very beginning or you're further into it, is that the STDBC is a fantastic resource available to you in North Carolina. They provide you a business advisor that meets with you on a regular basis and really helps you advance your product and your idea. In fact, my first advisor was the first one that gave me the first real push to look into the SBIR program. And my next advisor, because I've been with the program for a couple years now, really helped me read through my SBIR before I submitted it. So I'm really excited that we have Robin McIntire here, who is from the STDBC, to also co-host this panel with me. Robin, would you introduce yourself?
Thank you so much, Abby. I'd first like to say thank you to Ventureprise for hosting this event. It every year is something that I look forward to and provides a lot of value to entrepreneurs in the community. And I'd like to thank the panel members as well for being here, for spending your time and sharing your experiences, because that helps future entrepreneurs on their path as well. So I'll just take a minute and quickly introduce you to SBTDC a little bit more. So it stands for Small Business and Technology Development Center, which is a mouthful. We've been in North Carolina since 1984. So we provide one-on-one confidential business advising services to entrepreneurs and small businesses throughout the state. There's no fee for our counseling. We have 16 offices, so one at every UNC campus, and some additional offices. Our headquarters is in Raleigh. So we help entrepreneurs succeed. We have general business counselors. We also have some specialized counselors, and the program that's most relevant to what we're talking about today is our technology commercialization program. And that is the counseling program that Abby was referring to. That program provides services really to help you effectively incorporate SBIR and STTR mechanisms into your funding strategy. They help you identify other agencies and topics for your technology, keep you informed of deadlines for submitting. They will comprehensively review your submission, your proposals. Again, there's no fee for any of that. They just need a little bit of notice, obviously. They have some webinars, either some on-demand content or live and in person when we're back in person regarding angel investors and funding and SBIR, STTR. And they also help with SAM registration, which is something that you need if you get an SBIR or STTR grant. So they have a monthly newsletter as well. So a lot of services to help entrepreneurs with that process. So if I could, I'll kick off the questions to the panelists, if I could. I wonder if you could go into your innovation and your commercialization process a little bit deeper, and specifically, was there a lesson that you learned, maybe something that surprised you along the way that you would like to share that might help future entrepreneurs who are embarking down a similar path.
Dr. Wu, you want to start?
Sure. So about the commercialization path, it's very similar to what Abhi is doing, but and also looking for what you are doing too. So we started with the third interview with Laura and Devin at UNC Charlotte, and that was about 2 years ago. And last summer, we went to National I-Corps, did 100 interviews. And along the way, we found, we tried to identify potential customers and partners and business model. That's what we tried. And we feel like there are a couple of potential segments. And after the National I-Corps, we came back to a lab. And now we're working on a couple of prototypes, and we're building experimental chambers and doing some performance testing. With the performance data, we'll go out and ask the interviewees that we had before to ask them if this is what you're looking for, because sometimes without something tangible, they'll ask you, what does it look like? Or maybe how much money do you save me? How much of air quality improvement are we talking about? So we don't have a concrete data. Now we're building the MVP, minimum viable product, and then bring the product to the customers, and once again checking in to see if this is what you're talking about during the National I-Corps. So that's what we're trying to do. And next step is going for bigger national grants for the further R&D and customer commercialization process, such as SBIR or STTR. That's our future plan. And
Awesome.
About some lesson learned through the process, and maybe surprising, and maybe not surprising at all. At the beginning, we tried to use our technology to clean the outdoor air. And along the way of the interviews, we found out that not many people are interested in paying their money to improve outdoor air, surprisingly, or maybe not surprising at all. And so we switched our topic to indoor air quality improvement, because it's a whole different story. You pay your money and then you improve indoor air quality, so you benefit whoever inside the building. It could be the occupants, could be the building owners, or the business companies like that, and that become a lot more of an interesting conversation.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I would say, like, going through the I-Corps myself as well, that's one of the most important things that you do learn is it's not enough to define value, because you can define value in multiple ways, but really nailing down who pays for what really changes the conversation,
Exactly.
right? Like, which value will
Exactly,
a customer
yeah.
actually pay for? Great, thank you for that. So Dr. Kim, since you have kind of progressed into the SBIR world, now wrapping up a project, I'm curious as to, when you started the I-Corps program, what was your idea going into that, and how has that idea transformed all the way through? Are you still working on the same thing, or how has it been tweaked based on all the customer discovery and the research that you've now done?
I think because again, I initiated this project in 2011. It's already 10 years old technology. So it is very difficult for me to having a pivot. Although I know there are areas that do not work in reality. For example, like the primary value proposition is related to the energy efficiency. Then the some building owners do not care about saving energy consumption to their buildings, right? So, but then throughout the customer discovery process, I found that there are certain states or cities that have the stringent building energy code with a high energy price. Those owners in those cities aim to reduce the building energy consumption, which can get the benefit from this technology. So I don't know. So what I want to say is that I think it is okay to keep the the belief, trust on what you are doing. But I think the finding the beachhead market, yeah, that is to me was like took time to figure out which city can have benefit from what I'm doing.
Go ahead, Robbie.
Sure. Yeah, Raj, could you share with us, thinking about, you know, being successful in this process? What were the main milestones that you felt like you had to hit, and what future milestones are you looking to achieve?
Sure, Robin. So for me as a student, it is like it was also challenging in a way that I had to keep on with my research as well, with my proposal writing, qualification exam, and keeping this balance between the I-Corps program that we had. As also Dr. Wu mentioned, we had the experience of I-Corps, regional I-Corps program 2 years ago. So I started with Dr. Wu, the same cohort with another project. And we were doing the I-Corps program for example, thermal comfort in office buildings. In that regional program, we have found out the health measures are of much more importance for the customers, that comfort, thermal comfort. So at the same time that it changed our commercialization objectives, it's also changed my research path also. I think that was a milestone both for myself, for my research, and the commercialization for our project, I-Corps project as well. And then when we went to the I-Corps program, in the national I-Corps program, for me, what I was just thinking about was finishing this program, because it was I think it was 6 weeks, 6 busy weeks with it was 100 of interviews. So the only milestone that I could think of was having 100 interviews, making the connections, making the interviews. The entrepreneurial lead, which is the students, are in charge of having the presentations. And when it finished, it was for myself, it was like a huge milestone for itself. But based on the interviews of the I-Corps program, our other milestones are writing STTR grants. As Dr. Kim got a grant, it was really like exciting for us because we were in the same department. So we are still not sure we are doing this SBIR or a STTR program, but this I-Corps program gives you the a better overview of the commercialization process of the technology that you have in the university, you are developing in the university. So I think the milestone for most of the teams after National I-Corps program is going and proposing other grants for taking the technology further based on the findings that they had.
Yeah, great.
Excellent.
So in the little bit of time that we have left, I'm thinking of people that may not necessarily go all the way and do an I-Corps, and do 100 interviews, but really are intrigued by the lessons learned that you've all shared from this process of customer discovery. So can you talk a little bit, can each one of you give at least one tip you learned through the program about effectively interviewing to get the right insights from customers, so that anybody can use these tips, whether or not they are going to go through I-Corps or not, they can start using that to build their business right away.
Maybe I will go first this time because I know Chengde gonna say this. So I think we are learning the hypothesis before they are asking questions. Extremely important. Otherwise, the journey will become end lists, and they may feel lost. So they need to come up with the statement that they want to hear, yes or no, or that's not what they are caring for. So yeah, the hypothesis is the tip. Sorry, Chengde. I know you will.
Yeah, we went through the same process. So yeah, I definitely agree with that. That's very important. Have a hypothesis, go out testing that, and form the question, and maybe change the question along the way to test your hypothesis. And probably I can share some of the mistakes I made in the early days while I was doing the interview with Laura. So because I'm from academia, so I do what I used to do. What I did is that go out, get out the computer, do a presentation. That's what I did at the beginning. Later I found out, okay, they started asking me questions, interviewing me about my project. I'm not getting anything from them. Don't do a presentation. Don't get your computer out. Just ask them. So no presentations, and just do the real interview. Do you ask them question and then get something you want from them?
Great.
For me, it's also in line as what Dr. Wu and Dr. Kim mentioned. I want to suggest them, do not ever talk about your product. Just ask about the problems that they have, because the minute that you start talking about your product, they are going to interview you, and you want to know what is the problem and what is the problem that can be solved through your product, and people are willing to pay for that. Like you may have a very expensive product that is actually solving a problem, but it's too expensive that no one can pay for that. So a feasible product that is affordable enough for the potential customers is what you are looking for in the commercialization path.
Absolutely.
And I want to add one more thing. So while conducting the interviews, there's one thing that was very important to distinguish. So is the problem that's like a hair on fire problem, or just nice to have? Sometimes people are very nice, just say, oh, I like this, but you have to distinguish whether they really like this, or they just want this, whatever the price they will pay, or just, that looks nice, I'm gonna just be kind to you. At the beginning, I didn't know that, but while conducting more and more interviews, I start to know whether that's just being kind or it's something they really like.
Very helpful information. I'm learning some things myself and taking some notes. To learn from others' experiences is really, really valuable. So I thank you all for sharing that. So how many interviews do you get through before you think you need to reevaluate maybe your hypothesis, or sometimes it may pivot, right, based on what you're hearing?
So for us, our biggest pivot from outdoor air improvement to indoor air improvement actually happened while we were doing the regional I-Corps with Laura. So that was quite in early stage, maybe 15 interviews, 20 interviews down. We found out, oh no, probably this is not a good path to go. Yeah, the money should go to the right place. People are not paying for nothing. So, and along the way, I think we have a little bit of change here and there. That always happens. And change our hypothesis. Probably this is not right here or there, but we stayed to the biggest topic, like indoor air quality improvement. There are a lot of small changes though.
That is really good, Dr. Wu, that you had like your pivot in the early stages. We had a pivot in the earlier stages in the regional level, but we also had a major pivot in the interviews that we had in the national program, like in the 80th, around 80 interview that we had. We found out that if we want our product to sell better, we have to pivot. And I can explain a little more about that. I mentioned that we found that the health measures are more important. So we started the national program with the health measures and how our device can be helpful to improve the health environment for basically the indoor environment. And then we found out that some of the behaviors and patterns that we are targeting to predict is of not much interest for the nurses and doctors. And for example, coughing and sneezing or body temperature that we could detect are of not much interest for them. On the other hand, there are other patterns and behaviors that we can predict, but we were not thinking about it, like that this may be helpful, like fall prediction. We were not thinking about fall prediction before, but through the interviews, now we are thinking of a major focus on other patterns and behaviors such as fall prevention. This was in the 80th interview around. And also our target customers. At first, we thought that nursing homes would be our main customer segment. But through the process of the interviews, we found that although we are having an aging population in the US, but the number of people who are going to go to nursing homes are decreasing because people are more interested in staying in their own home and getting spending the last years in their own home. So people are now using assisted care living facilities. And so we found out that a device that can be installed in homes and can be sold to family members can sell much better than nursing homes. This was also another pivot for us in terms of finding the right customer segment, but not modifying our product.
I understand.
Excellent.
Yeah, also just a very quick. So I went through the interviews as a TL 2 years. So I met like more than 250 people. And then what I found is that the first time, what I learned is that if you talk to the people who are in your field, the feedback is very relevant to what you are doing. But if you talk to the person who is in the opposite direction, for example, like energy efficiency, right? But if you talk to the historian, then you will not get the value of feedback. So that is something that when you select the customers, I know you want to have some like randomized the subject, but also with certain intent in your field that may also be better for your the outcomes. Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I was just gonna say that when I went through I-Corps, our pivot point was about 60 interview point, and it was really on who was gonna pay. So our technology is primarily an AI-driven recommender system that sequences STEM experiences based on skill level and interest for young girls. And so we thought at first that, schools would be the best place to put it because then they could send it home. But what we found was that schools have their own very specific need that has nothing connected to the home. And then particularly homeschooling parents had like a huge pain point, like Dr. Wu was saying, hair on fire pain around discovery, because they're so, they own all of that discovery for any sort of educational materials for their kids. But it really took us 60 interviews because we started first with like interviewing schools. So we did like 25 interviews with teachers and administrators. And then after hearing a bunch of themes, we started switching to parents. And so then by the time we got to 60, we're like, okay, I think we had enough to kind of synthesize and figure out what the next step would be in terms of who we need to go talk to next. But
And that really illustrates, all of your stories really illustrates how valuable that process is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
And I would say highly recommended. So we're right at the end of our Q&A period here. I hope that you were able to pick something that either maybe inspired you to get out and ask questions and interview customers about your idea, or inspires you to, check out Ventureprise with Laura. And if you've done Ventureprise already and you're thinking, do I really want to do 100 more interviews? The answer is yes, you want to do 100 more interviews, and it's totally worth it. I'm sure, everyone here is happy to talk to you if you have further questions. So please feel free to reach out, and have a wonderful evening.
You too.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.